April 30, 2006, round 5, a historic day in AFL football. Gentlemen, what do you remember about Siren Gate?
Thanks.
Well, I can remember just the last quarter. Obviously, I had a big moment. Coming in, I was running in to try and shepherd someone because I'm not usually the one that has the ball in my hand at the end of a game, or not often at all. So I also remember sort of lurking around, trying to make a bit of an impact, and then all of a sudden I got the ball in my hands and running into an open goal about 30 metres out. I knew there wasn't long left, and got viciously pushed in the back. I think it was even a king hit. Basically done a somersault, so I was knocked senseless, and then the rest is history. Got the free kick, and I remember just gale force winds.
60
absolutely,
well, it was
absolutely shit in my pants. I remember thinking we're a point down, just don't kick it out in the full, which is probably not what you should be thinking. You should be thinking kick the goal, win the game. But I was just thinking don't lose the game. So probably not the best mentality. But then I aimed a little bit left, and it nearly went out in the full on the right, on the right with the goal. But then I remember thinking that was my chance to get chaired off the ground and do something. Worth the papers without punching someone. That's the only way I could get in the papers. I could have gotten in the papers for a good reason. So that was my memory.
Milne, what's your memory of the day? And we'll go into the forensics.
Not much actually. I had to do a bit of research before. Can't remember being 5-6 goals down at half time, and until you guys kind of said. I remember when you said that, Tom had given us a bit of a spray at half time because we weren't playing that good a footy. I do remember G-Train going a bit crazy in the forward line, and Anthony Grover, I think it was, gave away a couple of 50s, and Grover was just being pretty antagonistic. And
5 free kicks, I think, Froze gave.
Michael Johnson was in there as well.
That
5 in a row too.
That was pretty full on, so probably the longest 50-metre penalty in history. And then all of a sudden, my old mate Bakesy having a shot after the siren, and I was just worried that he wasn't going to make the distance because it was 25 metres out. He can't kick over jammed in, and I remember Lenny going nuts after the game, pointing at Chris Connolly, saying, it was the siren did go before the free kick and all that kind of nonsense. So there was a bit of.
And Lenny said, F off.
Yeah, Lenny said truck.
Unlike Lenny.
Yeah, so
I didn't think he sweared. I thought he was perfect.
Yeah, no, he actually said F off. He didn't say.
There was a bit going on after the game, and I don't think I got many kicks that day, so it was more interesting after the game, and it was a bit of a sombre feeling because Bakes missed the goal, so we would have had a big party after that, but obviously just made the distance and was lucky to get a point, actually.
That's true.
Well, it was a howling wind, as we said.
No,
Tell us about the G-Train. He could completely go off tap, and he did that day. Grant benched the G-Train, and he benched Nick Rewald. Can you believe that?
Yeah, Tomo
He's that angry.
loved benching a few guys. Back in the day, that's when you could actually drag players. I remember, a couple of games, if you weren't getting a kick, you would get dragged, especially in my position, the forward pocket, and that's the way it was, them days. These days, everyone's coming off every 3-4 minutes. But yeah, I'm not sure what happened to the G that day. Someone pushed his buttons the wrong way, and he just kind of flipped it. Should have got G in here as well. There'll be another story as well. But it was an interesting day. I remember dragging Rui as well. So one stage you look at on the bench and there's G and Rui. Pretty good forward line sitting on the bench. But we're lucky to get back. I probably should have won it in the end.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Well, kick it straight there.
Can you remember the siren? Can you remember that last pasture play? So there's 8 seconds left. The pack forms. Matty Nichols balls the ball up. Freo starts celebrating because they think they've heard the siren, and they have heard the siren. Can you remember any of that stuff?
I don't think anyone did hear it. I think the runner was out there saying the siren's gone. That's why the players were putting their arms up. But it was just, I remember you couldn't hear someone that was 10 metres away. So I think that's why you couldn't. The crowd was going so ballistic.
How loud was it? Was it?
Yeah, it was really loud. The crowd was going nuts that day because obviously it was a great game, great comeback.
Only 15,000 there, yet it was.
I felt like 50.
That was the pressure on that.
I think that end, the wind was going down that end, so the noise sounded a bit louder, and no one literally heard it until we said we didn't hear it, so we could get the free kick. But there was plenty going on after the siren or in between Bakes' last kick.
So you kick it, you miss it. Daniel Gilmore put that renowned thug pushes you. What happened? What did the umpire say to you at that stage?
I was sort of just shitting my pants, thinking, I'm going to get another kick here, and the pressure's going to be on. But I had the kick. I think Lenny come up and goes, just pretend you're in the backyard or some bullshit thing like that. And I was like, didn't help, but I just remember my legs were just jelly, and
they said, Did they say you can actually have the point as it stands, or you can get an extra
Yes,
kick?
I remember. Yeah, they did say that. So have the point or have a shot.
What went through your head then, in the sense, because we know Malcolm Blight famously had a second shot and kicked it out in the
And the
full.
full, yes.
Did that happen to run through your mind at
No,
all?
I wanted to be the hero.
You can't remember that, Blighty, surely.
No, not really, but anyway. But no, I did. I remember thinking, like, this is the moment. Yeah, all been waiting for. But yeah, sadly, I'm not a very good bloody kick.
A million blokes would say I would have kicked that every time, but you knew you weren't a great kick. So, you miss it, you're thinking to yourself, it's a draw. Did you have any thought in your mind, this is crazy. So, this is going to be, you didn't know it was going to be a commission meeting, but did you think, how can we actually have this point standing?
I was sort of just thinking what could have been, getting carried off by the boys and having a party. But that was what I was thinking. That's
Who would have
my only
carried you
chance.
off?
It would have been the boys, Milne Dog, Lenny, big phrase. But that's what I was thinking. What could have been? I didn't really give a shit about the draw or the points. I think we lost it. I think we would have lost the points anyway. The ruling come out next week. Would have lost anyway. But at the moment, I wouldn't have known that, and I would have thought I'd won us the game. So.
And just tell us about the chaos on the field. Like you've got Chris Connolly out there having a crack. You've got, I think Cameron Schwab might have been out there at one stage. Freo players are going crazy. Trying to say that the siren had gone. How mad was it out there, Milne?
It was just weird because all of a sudden no one heard the siren and the runner's going nuts and we're telling the runner to get, so I was just, get off. And so there's just stuff going on everywhere, and then obviously the coaches come on, and then Cameron Schwab come on, and then Lenny started having a bit of an argument with him and saying you shouldn't be on here, and the umpires are trying to take control, and I'm just sitting there laughing, going, what's going on? I'm just looking at Bakes, seeing how much he's shitting himself because he had to have another kick.
You're thinking, this is going to be a great footy trip story, I tell you what.
There's my first kick for the game.
Do you still dine out on this as well?
Nah, let him go a bit because he gets a bit fired up after it, and he can throw a good punch, Steve. So I just let him go.
We've seen a few of those.
And getting a good headlock. So I was just thinking, same as Steve. If he kicks it, we're going to go nuts in the room and sing the song because we were 6 goals down in Tassie against Freo. Who would have thought that? And we had a pretty good side in. So I was just kind of praying that it went in, and then unfortunately Steve missed, and it was just kind of just like a lead balloon. Everyone just looked at each other like, what do we do now?
So famously, the timekeeper, this is apparently the story. He sounds the siren, he begins to do his paperwork, he looks down, and then he doesn't realise that the game hasn't stopped, and the bloke bangs on the window with a beer can. And then he looks up and then he starts blowing the siren again. So, you couldn't make this shit up.
Bit of a myth. Thousands and thousands of myths in footy. I don't reckon he was...
Bit of a true myth, that one.
Do you remember so afterwards Michael Roberts interviews Grant, who is just so over it, like he's just so bemused, you can see the look on his face. Did he give you a bollocking? Did he say, well done from coming from 33 points down? Do you remember that? Or is it...
No, we can't remember that. It was very sombre in the rooms. I remember it was kind of one that got away, but I can't remember if he gave us a spray or what happened, but I just remember no one was allowed to talk because it was very, very quiet, and I can't shut up for 2 minutes. So being quiet for half an hour and just going in the showers and looking what just happened was pretty surreal, and even the bus trip back to the airport was...
Surreal, good word.
Thanks, man. There wasn't much happening on the way back from the airport to Tassie, and then from Tassie to Melbourne. We just got in our cars, and then we started talking and carrying on and getting into Bakes and missing it. It just stuffed up our night.
Was there any thought then that this is going to go further? They were already whinging and moaning, Freo, about we're going to take it a step further. Did you guys think that it would end up the way it did?
I think it was in the media the next day, what's going to happen, and it was talked about. So, yeah, I sort of knew that we weren't going to get the points anyway, but at the time, still would have been good.
How many seconds do you reckon from the time that the siren you think is gone to the fact that it's all over? And
was it 3 or 4?
Yeah,
I reckon.
So it's not long, but
long enough. Yeah. Like, you can't look
for that active
4 seconds.
to
It's 4
take
seconds.
place
It's
on you.
a long time for someone to tackle and push someone in the back and then get a kick.
Did you ever hear the siren or?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And Milne, did you hear it?
Maybe.
No. No, I didn't hear it. No, I was just trying to get the ball, or not shepherd Bakes, or just get Bakes to handball it to me, so I would kick it and we didn't miss it.
There was an AFL investigation. They interviewed timekeepers and officials. Did you ever get interviewed there? I mean...
No, I never got interviewed, no.
Yeah. So Wednesday 3 May,
So
they
serious.
rule in Freo's favour. If the draw stands, the Saints finish third in that season. You get the double chance. Faithfully, of course, Tomo gets sacked at the end of that season. It was pretty massive, 2 premiership point swing.
If you look at it like that, that was a bit serious question for Bakes. If you look at,
Was it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're right. What?
if you look at it like that, it's pretty full on, and I had no idea. Look at it. How many years ago? 14 years ago now that it would kind of end up being that. And then you look at it like that. What if Tomo didn't get the arse? Would I've been played at St Kilda my whole? So it's just kind of one of them situations that.
Sliding doors moment.
It is.
Yeah, correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. So
Yeah, well done. I like that. So with that, like Tomo had a famous stoush with the AFL. Through that whole time, he was going head to head with Andrew Demetra. How angry was he when you end up, in that situation where you lose any points?
Oh, obviously, the 2 points were kind of massive in the long run, and Tomo kind of butted heads with a few people over the years, and once he had something in his mind, he was kind of pretty diligent on trying to get the right outcome for the footy club, and his best interests were for the St Kilda Footy Club at the time, and unfortunately he had a bit of a stoush with the AFL kind of over a long period of time, and in the long run it kind of ended up the way it did, and we're sitting here now kind of talking about it. So you'd probably have to talk to Tomo about the feud that he's got
still
going.
holding the grudge. Don't worry about that.
He's got going. So
Was there ever a time Tomo said that some of the board members, for instance, said, Tomo, got to let it go, mate. They're going to get back at us at some stage. Whispers in the sky and all these different things. But I suppose you're just players playing.
Yeah, well, I was about to say we'll just be out there, trying to kick goals and win games of footy for the club. We weren't going to the board meetings or the committee meetings or anything like that. So you don't know what's kind of going on behind the scenes. Do you, Steve?
Definitely not Steve.
So that elimination final, you lose to Melbourne. Robert Harvey, Lenny Hayes, a million blokes are injured, and he was sacked the next morning. He said that in the rooms it was quite sombre, that obviously he'd lost the final, but it was just this feeling that the board members were going to get him. I mean, did you sort of feel like he was butting heads with the board as well? Did you get any feeling of that, or are you just disappointed about a loss? Bakes is just Bakes has literally pushed his chair back a metre. He doesn't remember any of this stuff.
Can't remember last week.
Last week, yesterday. It was a bit sombre. Obviously, going on that game, as you said, we had plenty of injuries. Hamill had his knee, I think both knees braced, and we still thought we could win. And obviously, don't know what we lost by, but I remember ended up playing on the wing. That's how I think we were struggling that match. But it was a bit of a somber mood in the rooms. You could kind of tell it wasn't right. It was the end of the year. We're meant to kind of be commiserating, but celebrating the end of the year and looking forward to the year after. But there was just that kind of eerie feeling that something's happening behind closed doors. And then obviously the next morning, I remember Tomo going to a meeting and driving past Beach Road. He's seen Rocket. He was going to Rocket's house, I think, and Rocket was in the car, and they drove past each other and ended up going to his house, and Rocket wasn't there.
So it was
so it was something like that he kind of knew I'm going to this meeting, but Rocket wasn't there. He'd seen his car, so it was all kind of really weird. And then he went to the house and got told that you'll be no longer the footy coach.
Did you think after that game, I've played my last game for St Kilda, that final?
Because
you'd been told, hadn't you?
I hadn't been told, but I kind of, read the writing on the wall that I'd be a bit, I'd probably get put up for trade, but I hadn't been told face to face. Obviously, during that year, kind of on and off the ground as a forward pocket, and kind of not performing in kind of certain games. I knew something coming, but obviously I had a little bit of interest from a couple of other clubs, which was pretty happy with. So I kind of met with them, but then obviously it took us a while for Ross Lyon to get appointed, and it was kind of Ross who at the time, but then now I treat Rossi as my kind of second father, and we had many good times together and still do. And remember walking upstairs to the office up here, not as good as this, a bit of bird shit and shit on the roof and that, and he said, mate, I believe you can play good footy for this footy club, and I'll give you a 3-year contract and just chase and tackle, and we'll go from there. And next thing, another 150 games later under Ross.
So you nearly got the arse from this club, and then you got a 3-year deal. How did that work?
Nah, Rossi's a good man. Good man.
Who did you meet? You talked to Essendon and Port Adelaide.
Yeah, that was the kind of two that were pretty keen. I obviously played in the reserve premiership at Essendon in '99.
Against me.
Against
Oh,
Bakes.
right.
Against the Saints. We towed him up that day.
You didn't play on him that day?
I think I
I
might
was
have
on
got 2 on him. No, I
I
don't
was
think
on.
it was.
Who's another guy?
No, I played on Kurt Hazelwood, actually, one of our old mates, number 34. We won quite easily, actually. And then Johnny Beveridge rang, and and then Rossi said, mate, I think I'll turn you into a good player, and you're 26, you haven't hit your prime yet, and the rest is history.
So you met Essendon and Port
Oh, yeah,
Adelaide.
sorry. And then, Kevin Sheedy was senior coach at Essendon, obviously, at the time, and Played a year under him in the reserves with Adam Amanaskis and met Sheeds at the Hilton, and he kind of went through all my stats and goals per game and averages and stuff, and he was very, very keen. And I said, I'm keen also, just waiting on St Kilda to come back to me. And Mark Williams, through my manager, Tommy Porchura, was pretty keen at Port Adelaide. I said, I kind of want to stay in Melbourne, a Melbourne boy, but if worse comes to worse, I'd love to move over there. And then literally a day or two later, I walked into Rossi's office and shook hands, and it was kind of done there and then. I really didn't even go back to Sheeds or Mark Williams. So very happy with it.
So you weren't playing well enough in what, big games? Is that what?
That's what Tomo thought. Yeah, that's what Tomo thought.
Was that harsh, you reckon?
But a little bit, yeah. We'd go back to a few games and kind of interstate games. Tomo thought I didn't play well in interstate games, but I thought I was pretty good. It's pretty hard to get a kick on the bench, but no, that's the coach's opinion, and we look back at it now and have a bit of a laugh.
Do you still talk to? Do you talk to him now?
Yeah. Still speak to Tomo, and no grudges there. Just have a chat and a beer every now and then, and he's all good.
Rossi, what did Rossi bring? What did Grant bring that you guys loved, and then what did Rossi bring? What was the change like?
I think going back to Tomo was like maybe the camaraderie we had after every game. We'd go back for a barbecue, catch up. So I think we really played for each other. We had a close bond, I suppose you'd say. I think Rossi's very methodical in his approach, very sort of structured. So I think a mixture of the two would have been a brilliant. One was one sort of edge of the scale, the other was the other. So both different, and I'm sort of great mates with them both to this day. So.
You were going out with one of Grant's daughters at one
stage?
I was, yeah. We might cut that one out. That might go the end of the It's not still...
I'll get in trouble.
I was going to say, I'm married to her. Yeah. You like that, Milne?
Great question.
Well, that would have been a bit unique. You going out with a coach's daughter.
No, it was very risky. I was definitely not... He didn't say I could anyway. My vocabulary's not very good, Anyway, moving on.
Go back to Blighty. You were here. Both of you boys were here at Blighty. And it was it was the most unique period of, was it 12 weeks in the life of a football club? What were your recollections of him and how it ended?
Oh, his desk was like this for the
clean as a whistle.
The viewers, a couple of pieces of paper, and that was kind of it. It was a strange kind of 12 weeks. Obviously signed contract on a napkin over, tell that story over Sportsman's Nights over the years, a few glasses of red and I think a few bottles with 5 of the...
Yeah, 7 figures.
Then signed the napkin and his office was like this. Yeah, he kind of got pushed in to do it, I suppose. I don't think his heart was really in it, and his heart was kind of more in golf at the time, and nothing against Blighty, but it was just, he wanted to choose different paths.
How often was he around?
Not much, nah.
Not much around?
Pre-season.
Didn't see him in the pre-season?
No, not much. He was here Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. Tuesday, Thursdays off.
Is that right? At Heritage or at...
and then we didn't touch the footy still after Christmas, which was weird for a professional AFL footy club not to touch a footy still after Christmas.
So this is the story that you didn't touch it. You literally didn't touch the footy.
Did not touch a footy until you had to get... We had to do 5 1Ks. And you had to get within 5 to 10 seconds of your 1K for each 1K. So if a K takes...
stupid.
I'm confused by that already.
Minute 15, minute 20. Your first one had to be minute 15, but your last one couldn't be any more than a minute 25. So you had to... If that's what it takes to do a K, I can't remember.
Yeah, probably 3 minutes. But
3 minutes. So 3 minutes. Minutes flying. It was about 3:10.
Yeah.
Look back at it now, I think I was about 3:30, 3:40.
Yeah.
But until you did that, that's where you could touch the footy. But there were blokes doing it for 3-4 weeks.
So it's like getting your pen licence almost.
Yeah, basically.
And no one could challenge Malcolm Blight, but
it was what it was. We were training out at Monash, and then the game started, and it was late to team meetings and stuff like that. It was my kind of first year, so I had no idea. 2001, going Malcolm Blight. Back-to-back premiership coach,
Only 3 years earlier, he coached the guys to
one of the best players in the game, and all of a sudden he's coach, and I'm just looking up to him going, it's Malcolm Blight, and then I was lucky enough that he gave me my first game because we had a virtual run of injuries and off the rookie list and kind of went from there, and I was lucky that he got the arse as well, and Tomo come in.
Daniel's going to tell you to stop banging the...
Bakes, tell us about the weirdness. We've already seen a little bit the weirdness of Malcolm Blight. Is there a couple of things there that you still shake your head about? What
I remember he loved having the socks pulled up, and I was one of the rugged country boys. I'd wear the black boots and the socks down. He told me to pull the socks down. All right, I'll do it, but to shut him up kind of thing. He'd call guys out in the middle and sort of belittle them in front of the group, which I wasn't a fan of. He called me out in front of all the boys and was trying to get me to teach me how to balk. And I said, mate, I just run people over. I don't even get to balk them. Stick the elbow up and run through. But he sort of he embarrassed people in front of the group. I know a few people he called out in front of meetings and stuff. So there was a few things I didn't really like as a coach, but. Yeah.
And what are the things that you loved, or like, did you see the genius in him, or you didn't even have him? For that long?
Not at all. He wasn't here long enough. Kidding.
You're going to come back in.
Love you, buddy.
Yeah, well, as he said, he wasn't kind of here long enough. You didn't get to spend enough time with him and see. Yeah. He was very old school. Like, you could tell that in his approach. Like, very old school. Get the ball, do this, do that. It's kind of do it my way or the highway with Blighty. But he was only here 12 games, and I think I only played 7 or 8 of them. So
one of those famous games, a game at Dockland Stadium, you play, you lose, you get easily beaten. He takes you back out on the ground.
Yeah.
In the middle
of the centre circle, mate. It's all had to fit inside the centre circle, all 22
What
players.
happened there? I mean, what did you think when he says, we're going back out?
I thought we're going to go do another training session because we just got pumped. That was another weird kind of thing. But we all had to literally be inside the white line, 22 of us sitting in there just listening to how we played so shit. I can't remember, but it was just, you remember walking off going, what just happened? Like, in the showers on the way home, just going, did he really just do that? Like, and you look back at it now and just laugh and go, did that really happen?
Not long after that, he was sacked. And did you feel that coming, that something's coming to a head? Something's coming.
Yeah, well, kind of, if you're in, you're in. If you're out, you're out. He was kind of not half in. He wasn't in or he wasn't out. Like, it was kind of, I'm getting paid $1 million, I'll rock up.
He's playing golf in pre-season. He's going up for golf trips.
Gold
Coast. So he's not here again. He's not here again this weekend. We'll slack off then.
And famously, he gets sacked. Well, out of the blue for us. There's a press conference in the squash room. He's there in that yellow jumper as he's frog marched out. We're there in Brighton in the streets playing cricket as journos, trying to get a couple of words for him for 3 or 4 days. What were your recollections as players when you knew about it, or when you were told officially that he'd been sacked?
I was with Hamill, Sammy. I think we were out for lunch and just got the call, get back to the club immediately, and we get back, and then obviously you see Blighty in his bright yellow Puma. I think it was Puma jumper, kind of walking out, and you see the photo on the paper the next day with the exit sign, and whoever took that photo, well done. It was just kind of all 12 games into I've been here a year and a half, obviously rookie list in 2000, but then my first senior coach within 12 weeks has got lemonade and sauce. It was all a bit surreal, and then obviously a board member ended up getting the coach after that, so it was all kind of a bit different my kind of first couple of years.
When Grant Thomas got sacked, were you initially thinking, this is good for me, or had you already met enough people to think, well, if I don't get a contract here, I'll move on?
A bit of both. I kind of knew that I'd kind of get somewhere else if I kind of had to, but I didn't want to really go anywhere. I wanted to be a one-club player, and I lived around the corner and stuff like that. But obviously, if you want to keep playing, your dream of playing AFL footy, you'll go anywhere. And then I was lucky enough that I met with Sheeds, but then obviously Ross come in, and the rest is kind of history.
Had you? Why didn't you start your career at Essendon? You played reserves there, and then you were taken in the mid-20s in the rookie draft by St Kilda. Had Essendon said to you that they didn't want you at that stage?
No, well, when they just won the flag in 2000, and they just missed out in 2001. So they had a absolutely belter of a team with McCurry, Moorcroft, Heffernan, Blumfield, all the kind of small forwards. So I was literally probably not ready to play AFL, 19, 20 years old, just a skinny kid from Hampton Park. So it was going to take me a couple of years to develop. And I was just lucky enough that Essendon were going to take me in the rookie draft.
Sorry, were or weren't?
Were. Yeah,
you
were.
Yep.
But I'm not sure at what stage.
Yep.
But then kind of Johnny Beveridge kind of swooped in, a bit early, and can't thank Johnny enough.
He's a good man, Johnny. I just want to take you back quickly to the pre-season competition. You win the flag. Does Grant Thomas say to you, don't smile out there? What was the expression?
I think there was something brought up in the meeting, because I remember seeing that photo and it's a bit embarrassing. It looks like he's actually sad, not just neutral. So I remember, he did say something, don't get too excited if we do happen to win it. So I think we should have celebrated a little bit more.
And what stage of Ross coming along do you think we've got the makings of a serious footy team here?
Oh, pretty much straight away you knew Ross was a kind of a senior coach. You just knew the way he went about it. I remember we had I think it was 07, his first year, and when OK in 07 just made the finals, and then 08 we were kind of struggling. I think we were 2-6, 2-7, and we had a bit of a dire straits meeting in Perth, playing Freo or West Coast, and we had a meeting and just a few home truths, and it was kind of that meeting where we knew we had a good team. Everyone was kind of at the right age to really give it a tilt over the next 3 or 4 years, and it was kind of after that game. Funny how you just look back at certain moments, and I remember that meeting before the game after lunch. We just sat there, not before. We just sat there and just said, "No, let's stuff this. We don't want to be mediocre anymore. Let's try and be the best we can be." And after that game forward, I think we went 10-2 after the break, and just missed finals. I can't remember, just missed finals in 08, and then obviously 09, 010. Nearly invincible, unfortunately. Just missed out.
Who stood up in those kind of meetings for you guys? Obviously Rossi, but who were the guys who would have said, "Yeah, you're right, let's not take this anymore"? Yeah,
well, obviously the main kind of guys, your Lenny Ruiz, your Fraser was, pretty big, back then. But they're the kind of the main two that, like everyone kind of looked up to, Rui and Lenny. Just what they say, everyone kind of shut up and just say, "No, we've got a good thing going here. We can." Change tides pretty quick and go from there, and it kind of, went that way.
Brendan Goddard and Nick Rewald, have deep and meaningfuls about, the grand final losses and, what it means and how close they are. How much do you consider that kind of stuff? Is it something you think about every day, or you go, no regrets because we just tried our hardest?
You guys do.
No, it's no regrets. Yeah, we couldn't have done anything more except probably kick straight. Other than that, it was just about, giving 100% effort 100% of the time, or the cliches, but you look back at it, we still do a prelim catch up, kind of every year. It's our 5th or 6th year that we're doing that, and that's a very, very long lunch. With stories to the cows come home. And it's like we've actually won one. It sounds stupid, but to get that close 2 years in a row, it's kind of a bit flat, and be sitting here, the premiership player would be surreal. We probably still wouldn't be sitting here. We'd probably still be partying bakes and on. But you look back at it, it's definitely no regrets. You wouldn't have done this, wouldn't have done that. It's just, proud of each other, the way we kind of handed ourselves, and still handing yourself now when you get kind of asked them kind of tricky questions.
Take us through 2009 grand final. Do you guys still believe that you were the best team in that year and just didn't quite on that day get it done? You were so close to getting it done, but didn't quite get it done on the day.
Yeah, well, I think it came down with a draw with only a couple of minutes to go, I think.
So close, yeah.
And it was just come down a little toe poker. Was that was
Matty
Scarlett? Yeah, I remember Dorse
Ablett
didn't get the spoil, so that could have quite easily changed the game right there. So obviously gut wrenching, and I remember what was the game where BJ took the mark, put us 6 points up.
That was it?
No, that was Collingwood. That was, and I remember thinking, yes, we're going. I remember running back to my position, and Cozzy was in the ruck, and I just gave a big fist punch. Said, "Come on!" And that was thinking we actually had that 1-1, and then get that one ripped away as well. So it's sort of it's gut wrenching, but as Milne said, we're a tight bunch. I think the pain of those 2 years has made us really a close knit bunch. So yeah.
And Danny Frawley had preliminary final reunions, and people sort of laughed at him. But he said people don't realise how hard it is to get to finals or to play footy, let alone get to a preliminary final.
Oh, definitely. You look at guys now, and to even play a final, look at guys, not bagging Essendon, but they haven't played in a winning final for 15 years. They've got guys that have played 10, 12 years of footy that haven't even played in a final or a winning final, and to make 3 grand finals and play in 20 grand finals, you think yourself lucky, but it's create your own luck, as they say. And we're, very lucky and fortunate to have a real good group of guys, and still, very tight now. We all went to Sydney a couple of weekends ago for Lenny's 40th, and Bakes stuffed up the surprise. That's another story.
No, that is the story.
What's the story there?
Well, the boys, my flight was delayed, and they said, don't go and check into the hotel because Lenny's staying in the hotel. But they said, we'll just sneak in and chuck your bags in and leave straight away. So my flight was delayed like 4 hours. I was running late. I'm thinking, there's no freaking way that I'll bump into him. So I was just checking. I said, mate, I've got to be quick here. And then I get a tap on the shoulder. Lenny's going, he goes, what the fuck? What the hell are you doing
here?
What are you doing here? I said, oh, man. But I didn't let the surprise. I said, oh, look,
The best thing about this story is Bakes hadn't seen Lenny for about 10 months. Obviously, Lenny's in GWS and worked at Coogee Bay. About 14 of us waiting. And
God's country.
Bakes rang me and said, mate, the cat's out of the bag. I'm like, oh, no way. You serious? I said, mate, just burn him. Just go to your room and come straight to Coogee and just say you got to meet someone else. And they're best mates, like, you know, grew up together, 15 years of footy. Bakes has got in his bag, Lenny's gone, I'm going to see a mate and, you know, some friends. And he goes, okay, I'll just go to the bar, I'll get you a beer. So Lenny had his cousin, and then Bakes is coming out. So Lenny's ordered 3 beers. Bakes has chucked his bag into the room, got in an Uber, and texts Lenny saying, sorry, mate, I can't have a beer. I might see you over the weekend.
I panicked. I messaged him saying, mate, I had to go and meet a
Good friend.
a good friend of mine, mates here. I did plan to come and meet you for dinner with your cousin, so that's how I got out of it. But I think he was.
So
he saw straight through me.
His cousin had to tell him that there's 1 or 2 boys here for your 40th, and he just thought it was me, Bakes, and Troy Swartz. But then it was like 15 guys, so he was pretty chuffed. It was a good night.
How often do you get reminded of the bounce of the ball, which clearly was out of your reach? You needed 15.
Was it?
So you guys have let him down gently for the last decade, haven't you?
I missed a goal in through. He loses us the grand final.
What about? Just kind of things like this, sportsman's nights and stuff. But as you say, I don't lose sleep over it. Like, it was for me to the end of the table, and one of them ones. If I had a dive that would have bounced over the top of me or touched it and not gone through for a point, it might not be a point. But you look at it. I haven't watched the game. There's another minute and a half, or probably minute 20 to go after that. So, you know, it's just one of them things that gets brought up every now and then.
How much did it weigh on you in that week leading up to the next game?
A little bit, but I knew, like, it wasn't like I dropped a mark. I just, couldn't get it. So nothing major. Like, it's not like I let it go through the keeper when I could have hit it for 4. Just couldn't get there. So it is what it is.
And that's the thing as well. Like, you slowed down after it bounced, but it made it look like it was that unique second of time that people thought, he stopped on it, but it's not what happened.
Yeah, no, it's completely opposite.
Yeah.
And with that, guys, like you've had a draw. You probably should have won it in the end. You had that when Brendan Goddard kicks that goal, takes that towering mark, and Luke Ball's there. Did you think you had it then? Did you think you had the momentum in that particular game with 15 minutes or so to play?
Yeah, I definitely did. I remember I just mentioned before, running back, I was just on the wing. I looked at Cozzy, just looked in his eye, and coming in, he had this big grit in his face, and I I remember getting the goosebumps and going line back up on my man and just thinking, we've got this, and we're all going hard. But I can't remember what happened in the end, how they got their goals or whatever. But I remember thinking that moment, we've got it. But yeah, the rest is history.
And it's funny, we spoke to Gary Ayres today, and Gary's got 5.
He
Gary
fullbacks.
loves all that stuff.
Long?
Yeah, he used to coach Geelong. Who do you play for? Gary Ayres.
Adelaide?
Does Woody not know?
Best ever. Who do you play for?
That's moving on. What's the next question?
What position then? What position?
I don't know.
So Blake's famously no Bruce Eva as a football historian, or just...
No, just Bass didn't do a lot of research on his opponents. He had one, got a big tagger, and the famous one is he was going into the centre square, and someone told him to take Nathan Brown. And he's gone into the middle taking Nathan Brown, but he's looking for the Nathan Brown from Melbourne, not the Nathan Brown from the Bulldogs, because he used to play Nathan Brown for the Bulldogs. So it was, we used to play games like that. Just who did Trent Crowe play for? Who did
I used to study one person. That's why I didn't really know.
Yeah, you didn't know anyone else.
One name, Steve Johnson.
Yeah, it was either Gary Ablett, Juddy. I just used to study that one person. And if I had to move players, I go, who the hell?
It was a bit of a game, but there's a bit of a game between the boys, just trying to get Bakes to guess who they played for.
You must be pretty proud of, we laugh about it, but 200 pretty amazing games and 200 of the most single-minded games that the game's seen.
Yeah, no, I remember my brother going, it's pretty special to play 200 games, and then he had the statistics of some article that was written about it, and I went, oh shit! And then sort of dawned on me that it is pretty good achievement for someone that was lucky to play one game. I think Timmy Watson nearly kicked me out of the club after missing the first training session because I was hungover. So from going to missing the first training to 200 games, I was pretty happy.
Dane Swan-esque, he did the same thing at college. So.
He's one of my idols. Yeah.
How late were you? Did you turn up at all?
Yeah, I turned up at 11 o'clock. It was a 7 a.m. session. I remember going at the Barry Hall, and I think they were feeding me shots deliberately. Aussie Jones, all those
rookie era
troublemakers, and I woke up and I was naked in some weird house, and I was wet. I'm thinking, oh no, I've peed the bed here.
Where's this going?
And I walked in the house, and then there was some, this lady screaming. I said sorry.
Shit.
I said sorry, and he goes, I'm Barry Hall's girlfriend.
Okay.
I just said, where am I at his house and whatever. And then I looked at my clock and it was like 11 a.m. I was meant to be there at 7. 58 missed calls, and I'm just
only 4 hours late, not too bad.
All Milne's called me 100. Oh, not Milne. Lenny's called me 100 times. Kurt Ainsworth called me 100 times. Oh no. And I walked up, and they made me do a 4-hour gut circuit and throwing up in the gym, and then Tim Watson didn't want to talk to me until Monday. That was on the Saturday morning. He said, I don't want to talk.
You learned your lesson after that one.
Next weekend I got in a fight.
What? You broke your nose.
No.
A month later.
So did you think you were going to get the arse then? Was it? You were gone?
Well, yeah, I remember just being scared shitless. On the Monday, Tim Watson didn't look at me at the end of the session. And I had a ponytail undercut at the time.
Should have kept it.
I was a rude-looking young man. And at the end of the training session, he hadn't looked at me all Monday. And then he said to Aussie Jones, he goes, "You'll be down in the twos next week." And he goes, "And effing Baker, if you do that again, you're going on the first train back to Colac." And he goes, "And cut that effing stupid hair off." And so I went that night and shaved my head, come in, sat in the front of the room the next training session, and tried to work my way back into it. But it took a lot of time to get the boys'
Mentally,
trust.
how did you deal with the jobs you got given? Mentally, it must have been so draining playing on some of the game's best players and trying to do it for a whole game. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, it was tough. Sort of a lot of stress during the week. I did do a lot of study on my opponent, but I knew, and I wasn't naturally fit. I was a bit of I loved going out in the weekends and playing against these aerobic animals. I know I used to do a lot of extra running after training sessions on the Tuesday, Wednesday. I'd do 20, 30 laps after most sessions. And yeah, thanks, mate. Just to try and keep up with these guys, and then I realised sort of 5 or 6 years in, I can't keep living this lifestyle and getting in the weekend and drinking if I'm going to be playing on these animals. So the professionalism, when Lenny sort of took me under his wing a little bit, the professionalism went up. I dragged him down a little bit, but he dragged me up a little bit. He was at nightclubs fighting, and I was beating my opponents a bit more. But yeah, no, it was good.
There's a book in you, unfortunately. You're going to have to write it, Milne, because you know all of his stories.
Oh, yeah. It won't be in a book, it'll be in an encyclopedia.
How proud are you of this bloke? What he's achieved? He's
mate,
pretty relaxed. But
he's a machine, and one of the hardest... one of the hardest guys to play on just at intra-clubs, and what he had to do week in, week out. Why he was so good at it, because he didn't give a shit who Chris Judd was or who Dane Swan was. It was just, there's another opponent, and I'm going to do absolutely everything in my power to make sure he doesn't touch it and the Saints win. So it was just week in, week out. If you're in a fight, if you're in trouble, just Bakesy on the field will come and stick up for you. So
like that time when we're leaving McDonald's.
No, sure what you're talking about. Someone recognised Bakes, not me, no. Yeah, but the 200 games, just a country kid from Colac who didn't really even want to play AFL until he got here and said, I can make a career out of this, is a pretty special effort, and to call him one of my best, tear up. He's just an animal. Whatever you say, he'll do, and on and off the field, we've had some good times on and some better times off.
No camera phones back then, no Twitter, no Facebook, no Snapchat.
Imagine, was anyone Twitter and that now? Imagine him back then.
No, he's got a very strong Instagram presence. But how much nonsense did you guys get up to that actually just that the club knew about that didn't get into the media at that stage?
Most of it did get into the media.
Yeah, most of it did. Bakes and I did that SACKED for a bit, kind of the jackass kind of few shows here and there. Our first couple of years, and that was funny. But you couldn't really, our first kind of 2-3 years, you go out and enjoy yourselves and stuff, but then once you get over it, and I had a wife, and Bakes had many of your girlfriends at the time. But it was just kind of, you had a few beers at home after the game the next day, and Bakes had a famous bar that we used to sit in and just talk shit and have a few beers. So there's nothing kind of sinister stuff back in the day, a few stories here and there, but nothing major. Yeah, so it was it was good fun. We were winning games of footy. We were best mates. All the kind of the same age. we didn't really talk much. We just basically laughed, as you can see today. It's just always good company. If I don't see him for a year, but see him the next day, it's like I've seen him again yesterday. So, always good fun with Bakesy.
Who got you as a tagger, and who did you feel like you had? Who was your bunny?
I don't think anyone got me, but I remember Shannon Grant. He kicked 3 in the last quarter on me, and he won in the game. So I don't think he had many touches, and I might have got moved to him, and that was one. I remember he pulled me pants down a little bit in the last quarter. That was North Melbourne. Yeah. I remember that because that's one of the games I remember. If I get beaten, I remember it. But yeah, I enjoyed playing on the Ablets and the Judge just because of the challenge. Juddy and I had some great battles and vice versa. So,
whose head did you get inside, do you reckon? Is there a player that you just got inside his head? I know Bob Murphy said one time that something you said to him sent him over the edge. And
I think I was talking about my sausage dog.
You were.
I asked him if he had a sausage dog, and he didn't know if I was doing sarcastic or I was going to king hit. Didn't know if I was going to king hit him. I threw him off his game. I read that article. It was pretty funny.
Whose head did you get into, you reckon?
Probably Stevie J, I think. Playing on him in the grand final, I did pretty well on him. And then the next game, we went to town on each other, just punching each other all game. Who else? Ablett, I think I did a little bit back in the day. I remember him. We had a few good little battles and elbows in the guts.
Ablett's your bunny, what you're trying to say?
Oh, no, definitely not. No, there's no bunnies out there. There's just hard-fought battles, Stephen.
So 2010, you just whack away at Stevie J, and you get 9 weeks for 4 separate incidents there. I mean, these days, do you feel like they had it in for you? Because, you deserve to be suspended, but 9 weeks is a fair whack.
Yeah, no, I think that the tribunal, every time I went into the tribunal, I knew I was going to be found guilty no matter. I think I joked about it on another interview, even if I went in there with no pants on and bloody said the same thing, it'd be the same outcome. But yeah, that's Stevie J. I think he broke his hand. I think he said otherwise, but broke his hand on my head early in the game. So I gave him a little cheap shot back, a little uppercut, and that was 1 suspension. And then because he broke his hand on my head, I was attacking that broken hand. So I think they changed the rules saying you can't attack injured players. So I was pretty proud of getting a rule changed. But yeah, the 4 incidences were pretty minor. I remember saying to him after the game, because he gave me the best elbow I'd probably received in my whole career, 8 stitches, and actually I saw stars. And I remember going to him after the game and said, mate, no hard feelings, I'll look after you at the tribunal. And it was the opposite. So I think he got 3 weeks, but he told the story. I think he knew his hand was broken, so that's why he went out. He goes, I'm going to get Bakesy here, which I love. So he gave me the best one ever. It was a ripper.
And what did he do at the tribunal? Did he not help you?
I think he actually went into.
Okay.
I think he actually went into bat for me.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I had carryover from.
You had a 40% loading at the
time. You think?
I think there was a bit of a remainder from Jeff Farmer incident, which was not on film. So even that shows the bullshit of the tribunal.
So the Jeff Farmer incident is what, you're coming off the ground or he's coming off the ground?
We're both sprinting sort of up on the other side of the wing, and I did wallop him a ripper, but they didn't catch it on camera. And I went in there and I said, look, I just stopped in front of him and he hit me in the back. And they said, because you caused the contact, 7 weeks. I'm just thinking that's horseshit. Like if that was a Gary Ablett or a Judd, people that they want to see play, he would have got off in a second. But because it's Stevie Baker, we found a loophole in the little thing. He stopped. Horseshit, tribunal.
Tell him, mate.
AFL, suck it.
So you did bash him because I think you said at the testimonial, with your testimonial, I stopped and it prompted.
Look, I don't want to go against my word, what I said in the tribunal.
Campbell Brown got done for perjury, didn't he? Oh yeah. Campbell Brown got done for
he got fined 15 or 20 grand.
Yeah.
What for?
He said that Chris Judd didn't eye gouge him, and then he said on open mic later on, he said, of course he eye gouged me. I was just trying to get him off. And then I think, was it Adrian Anderson?
I think it might
anyway, the AFL.
So we're going to find later.
Yeah.
Look out, Bakes.
Shut up.
He was still playing, I think.
What did tell us your routine of going into the tribunal. You knew exactly where it was. And
you had to ring me for a pair of shoes, a belt, and
Lenny gave me
shirt and jacket. That was another routine. So.
Yeah. No, I remember just doing the same old thing. I'm thinking, this is just a waste of time because it's already guilty, so I'm just go through the motions. I'd have to go in, see the lawyer, go get my story right, all the same. I think I had 15 tribunal appearances and they were all guilty. I didn't get let off once. So I'm just thinking. But there was a few that I didn't think I was guilty.
So 28 games suspended. I mean, probably 15 of those. That was what you did. You're on the line. But You felt a stiff in at least 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah, I think the Farmer one, no footage, and 9 weeks with Stevie J for a few little niggles was crap as well.
How do you get on with Stevie now? Have you come across... he liked that, didn't he? How do you get on with Stevie J now? Do you come across him? And
yeah, I'm... the first time I was up visiting Lenny in Sydney when he's at G2S, and then I got someone come up behind me, got me in a headlock. I was having a beer. Who the hell's this guy? And it was Stevie J. We had a beer that night. Had a great time. Met him a couple of times since. I think we're talked on social media a couple of times. When I posted the photo of my eye was closed over, I said, mate, that was the best hit I've ever got. So friendly banter, like I don't hold any hard feelings off the field. So. Because usually I'm the one doing the naughty stuff.
You didn't retire yourself. You got retired by Ross Lyon in the end. Tell us how that unfolded that year.
Rossi called me in, and I was a bit shocked because I was halfway through the season. I was probably playing the best footy that I'd played for a while, and he called me into the office and basically said, "Bakes, we're going to," and I just towed up 3 opponents in a row, playing great. And he goes, "Oh, Bakes, we're not going to go with you next year. We're a bit of restructuring or whatever spin he put. Whatever spin he put on." And I remember laughing, and then he goes, "No, we're actually serious." And I'm thinking, what's going on? I walked out, just sort of a shell of a human, didn't know what to think. Went home, I didn't tell my mates, and I was a bit sort of, what is going on here? And I'm thinking,
literally mid-season.
Mid-season. I think it was, and he did it to me so I could actually work out what I wanted to do, if I wanted to move clubs or whatever, which he had the right intentions, but. Then after the last game, I remember all being in the rooms or whatever, and then he's announced that I've retired from the game, and I was like, "What the shit?" I didn't,
You hadn't talked to him.
I hadn't talked to him about it. He hadn't told me he was going to do that. So and then I think I got on Instagram or some shit and said, "I didn't retire. I got the arse." And then I had all the media people from the St Kilda saying, "You can't tell." I said, "Fuck, piss off! I'm not playing there anymore. So you can't tell me what to do."
I think he retired 3 or 4 players on that night, didn't he?
Yeah, there was. So it was just shocked, and I didn't. Rossi was just trying to, look after me, I suppose, but I just be honest and tell people I got the arse.
I have to realise that was the end of Ross Lyon as St Kilda.
Yeah, that was it. So he got rid of me. I was joking him about Lenny's the other week. I said, "Yeah, you pissed me off, and then you got pissed off." So yeah, suck it.
And you were done by that stage, or did you ask around? Were you thinking about you might play again?
At GWS, I was looking at Steve Silvani. He was, I don't know what he was doing. He was doing list manager. So obviously he was at the St Kilda at the time, and he said, "Look, we've got a good chance of being a sort of a mentor, backline player, but mentor for the backs." And I sort of was weighing up, obviously being a one club player was pretty important, but then I think they recruited too many veterans anyway, so that made my decision for me. So I wasn't able to go there in the end anyway. But I was thinking about it. Then I went to Craigieburn, dominated there.
Yeah, but just kept on playing footy.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Sorrento.
Yeah, Sorrento.
You obviously had the situation down there. Did you feel like for a stage there, everyone's against me? Like these tribunals.
The live band. No, that was fair enough.
Fair enough.
That was the one I was guilty for.
What did you do?
Someone punched Troy Swartz, good mate of mine from St Kilda. He was the coach, captain coach down there, and I saw him get clocked, and I was chasing the guy that clocked him, and some guy come in from the side, and I just accidentally, allegedly,
put your elbow up.
Put the elbow up.
And sort of banned for life. How did that sit with you? Sereno, we're going to fight.
I thought it was a fitting end to a career for me. I thought it was a good way to go out, but then they overturned it. I had to come back and play. No, I don't know, because I think that was actually a practice match. That wasn't even a proper game, which makes it even worse. But I still wanted to play. I was still having good fun. Wanted to win a flag, and then Milne invited me down to Bendigo. One of his good mates was coaching down there, Strathfield Say, and then we ended up winning a flag with the Mighty Stormers. So that was a good way. I thought, that's it. My knees cooked and hips cooked, so that's it.
You famously sharpen your stops for blokes like Steve.
Allegedly.
Stevie J. No, famously, because you've talked about it on open mic.
Oh yeah, not allegedly.
We'll see you there on a Friday night, whittling away with whatever it was. Just so you could rake it down the back of their cars.
Originally, it was I had some blades, and they weren't very good on the, what is it now, the Telstra Dome? Whatever. And I remember just skimming across the top. So originally it was to dig into the turf better, but then it turned out it was, So I stood on someone's foot accidentally, and that really hurt them. I thought, that's good. I might do that some more. then it turned.
How much prep did you do on players? You do prep on players and knowing you were going to get in their head. tell us about some of the prep you did the night before or leading up to.
We do a lot of I do a lot of video, so
I was more thinking the underhanded stuff as well.
I was always pretty good with I knew all my little moves and niggles, and I had a few good ones where when the ball was bounced up, I'd always give him a little whack in the bread basket, just a bit of timing off for the midfielders, stepping on their feet and that kind of thing. But and then all the video analysis, which way do they go, who do they like to tap to, hit to, whatever. But yeah, it wasn't a lot. That I didn't. The night before the game was just relaxing and getting ready, but during the week was pretty full on.
And Milne, Ross Lyon, how shocked were you with that decision that he's walked out on the club, and what sort of impact did that have initially on the group?
Yeah, it was pretty. Here's between the ears. It was no one seen it coming. We just remember getting a call up to go down to Seaford, and all of a sudden, Vossi's got lemonade and sauce again. So I think the sixth coach or something by then, and it was amazing really, because we had such a couple of good years and a little bit lean in 11. Yeah, a little bit lean in 11, but we still had a good core group of kind of experienced players with kind of a few young guys coming through, and then all of a sudden, for some reason the Saints didn't give him a contract, and Freo come knocking, and once they come knocking and say write your own cheque, I would sign it as well.
Did you feel more angry at him for leaving, or maybe the footy club who didn't give him the contract extension he wanted?
Until we found out the truth behind the whole story, it was at the time, well, what are you going for? Like, what's the go? But then you find out that the Saints didn't offer a contract, so you're trying to work out, trying to ring Rui and Lenny, what's the go, Ed? What do you use now? And then for some reason the Saints didn't offer him a contract, and Freo come knocking, and it was kind of a clause in his contract that he could go. So it was just, as you say, as a player that's nearly at the end of his career, you played under a guy for 7-8 years, you want to finish your career under him, and all of a sudden he's just gone for kind of silly reasons really. So, but you're not too sure, as I said earlier in the podcast, that the board members do what they do and we just kind of play, so you don't know what's kind of happening behind the scenes.
And what was the panic? Is that the right word? What were those few hours like when you're thinking, who's going to coach us? What's happening? Why has he done this?
Yeah, we're in limbo again. It's just we've done all this hard work, and all of a sudden we're in limbo. Like, who are we going to get? Who's going to come in? Who's going to who's going to get the arse? Who's going to get delisted? Am I safe? Because you just start second guessing yourself. So it was a different time.
For a period of time,
Sunny Seaford.
Round here, it was like a reality TV show in a lot of ways, when it was so much media scrutiny on the place. What was it like living through that?
Pretty full on. It was we all the time had cameras in your cars and microphones in your face and stuff. But lucky we weren't Rui or Lenny or Fraser. It was just Bakes and I. We just got in the car and kind of ducked off. But it's pretty full on. But that was just part of the business. That's the way the St Kilda Footy Club rolls, and we'll continue to do that, and just, as I say, roll with the punches, and it is what it is. Like, it was a fun time, but you do want that to kind of go to other clubs and stuff, park the bus out of the, in front of the other club, not here. But as I kind of said earlier, we're just trying to, train the best we could and play the best we could, and whatever happens kind of, outside here, we can't control that.
You retired as one of the great small forwards of all time. Did you go out on your own terms, or how did your career finish?
Good question. No, it was a bit of no.
If you're still playing now, be good.
That was kind of the same. I got called into Scotty Waters' office, and kind of the board had kind of made a decision. Obviously, I had a couple of things that kind of hanging over my head, and it was kind of, they kind of made a decision on me, and I just thought it'd be better to go out on my terms instead of play the year and know that I'm going to get delisted at the end of the year. And so I kind of made that decision myself, and definitely had one more year left. Not two, but definitely one more. I still had a pretty good year in 2013. But as you say, there's a lot more higher guys upstairs than me. So I just kind of caught it myself, and went out of a bang, beating Freo by, whatever it was, but that's when they were in finals and rested a lot of players. So it was disappointing kind of end to it, but I've got no regrets about, not hanging on or getting delisted and trying to play one more year at another club. Very proud of, kind of what I've achieved from a rookie list, and, sitting here now talking about it.
Scott Waters famously put a rocket through the group when he came through. Did it fail miserably? Tell us about those years there.
a couple of weird years. Scott kind of come in from a Collingwood background and try to put a few things in place, but we had a lot of senior guys that had been under Ross, so they were kind of butted heads. Ross and Scott, not individually, but kind of as different coaches, they were kind of completely opposite. And Scott was good for me, regarded me as a pretty good player, and Scott was okay, but it kind of just didn't work out. So it's the way it went, and we'll see. I wish Scott all the best, whatever he's doing now.
You dealt with, 12, 15 years of abuse on the field. What was it like? You must have been so resilient.
Yeah, just a bit of fun. All part of the game, and love playing Collingwood and blowing them a kiss and sticking the finger up at them and all that kind of stuff. It's just, it's a bit of theatre. I love going to the footy now and watching Toby Green get into it and stuff like that. So, I was pretty resilient, but I was brought up in Eton Park, so you got to be pretty resilient being brought up there. So, no, I lived on it, trying to, get in the face of opposition players. It kind of made me feel a bit taller and play better, and it was all a bit of fun, really. Like
you and Mick Blood, famously on the field.
Yeah, my mate Mick. How you going, Mick? Not really.
Was it? Was that water off a duck's back? Did that hurt you? And have you discussed it with him since then?
No, I haven't bumped into him. He did try and reach out through Brian Royal and try and get a coffee, but I declined. Kind of 4 years after the fact, which I don't see why you would do that. Like, you're the coach, you address the players, you don't get involved in anything else. So it was a bit surreal, at quarter time at the break. I was just laughing at it, really, that kind of a grown adult of mixed stature getting involved in a little bit of a heated argument on the field. It was pretty immature, and I haven't bumped into him. I played a couple of years at Barmaris, and he did a talk there, but just walked straight past me and might have put the shoulder into him maybe. But Mick's Mick. Let him go.
Dick Mick.
Bakes, have you ever tried to kiss and make up with any of your victims, in inverted commas?
No, I'm usually pretty friendly off the field. Like, a lot of people meet me and go, "What the shit? You seem like a normal person. Like, you haven't got
normal." Well, let's go back a bit.
You're not a psycho.
Normal person.
Well, you're not a psycho, are you? Anyway, but yeah.
You didn't go back with a flight. Nick Rowett went back with a flight. He nearly killed you. What's your recollection of that day? Because it was a crazy day. It was like round 10. Sydney and yourself both undefeated. A lot at stake, and he just did something that just transcended footy.
Yeah, well, something stupid that only Roo would do, and it was my mark, and now he gets all the praise for it, and didn't even get mark. Did he get mark of the year?
He didn't get mark of the year.
I didn't even get mark of the year, so he didn't get mark of the year. Lucky I didn't get concussed. He kicked me in the face, and it should have been my mark. If that's the other way around, and I've kicked Rui in the head, going back with I wouldn't be stupid enough to go back with a fly like that, but I'm tipping I would have got dragged and probably dropped the next week. But look back at it, it was one of the best marks I've seen. Following the game of footy for 35 years, 35 years. It's that one and Jonathan Brown's against Brisbane. It's them two side by side. It's ridiculous that anyone can do that, and it hasn't been done since then. I don't think it'll be done again.
Ross Lyon, if someone called you up, they might not call Bakes, and said, "Why should he coach our football club in 2021?" What would you say to them?
Oh, so sign him straight away. Great coach, great person, great family man. Knows what he wants. And just, I'm not sure if he's keen at the moment. Caught up with him a couple of weeks ago, obviously in Sydney, and I just think he's loving time off with the family and the kids, with Kirsten and the kids, and he's going to, put his foot into the media this year, and I think that'll get a lot of viewers watching on Footy Classified what Ross has got to say, because we didn't have him as coach for 5 years, and I still remember the last year I was, going to Fremantle website and watching his press conferences. He was saying the same thing. All the boys used to do that. The quirky words and stuff that he used to say. It was like watching a comedy skit. It was just.
What's in the prelim final reunions? What's the number one Rossi story? I know he goes to them, but what's the first one that?
We came in at half time once, and can't remember who we were playing, but we're getting pumped, and we've had like 20 tackles for the half, and he's gone through all the tackles, and he's got Milne 2, Bakes 2, Joey 2, Lenny 4, Rui 0, donuts, and just bag Rui, because Rui never ever really got a spray, so that's probably the main one, that kind of spray. Nicky Del Sando tells that story a lot better. But that's probably the main. that's the main one.
Donuts very well.
Yeah. Boys, we're going to ask you about the G Train. Give us the G Train story in a, don't go across the line too much, but what's the favourite G Train story?
I don't know.
Oh no, G Train.
No, I can't remember.
There's no real stories about G. He's just obviously very quiet fella that didn't like the limelight and still doesn't. But just was a ripping footy player and a ripping bloke and taught me how to drink. Really, he's just good fun. Really good fun. The G, and he was here for 8-9 years and playing full forward, just a mountain of a man, and used to kill it in the bench press and doing beach kills, and probably can't say any other stories, but he was a man of mystery, the old G Train, man of mystery, and still is.
We're in the Tony Lockett room at Moorabbin. What was the move to Seaford like? And obviously we're back here now. I mean, just
shit house.
Yeah. Functionally, why was it so bad?
I think we had a lot of all our core mates were living around here. We were all sort of around the Moorabbin, Cheltenham, Hyatt, Brighton area. Ruby was in Brighton. And it was just good. We'd come to training, then we'd go to hang out at one of the boys' houses, swim in the pool over pre-season. And so I think once we sort of got up and moved there, I personally, when I was getting a little bit older, sitting in an hour on the way there, on the way back, I know coming in the finals, my back was killing me. I'm thinking, if we didn't have to drive those 2 hours every day, could that have made a difference over 40 players on the list, not driving 2 hours every freaking day.
Listen to him go.
Oh, pissing me off. And it was like a sterile shithole too.
Yeah, so people say, as we said to the boys, there's no cafes. It wasn't at the cafes. It was about the function of you living your lives.
Yeah, it was just being all sort of close here. We'd have a nice, our favourite cafes. We did have. We had the Church Street. We just to hang out down there with. But yeah, I think it was just. The travel for me, so I'd sort of just bought a house in this area. I think I can either rent there for a couple of years, but no, you go down there and there's nothing really to do.
Pretty soulless, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just yeah, exactly.
What about Brett Ratton as a coach of St Kilda? You guys desperate for a flag? It'd be good. You played one together, but where was it again? You played in the flag?
Strathfield Stadium,
Bendigo.
There you go. Would have been a good celebration that night. Brett Ratton, can this club turn it around and win a flag at some stage? Do you think?
100%. The vibe down here, obviously looking out to the beautiful Moorabbin ground last week. I was here last Thursday night for the Saints Hawthorn game, and just the vibe around the place, what Rats has brought in, kind of the new culture, and kind of getting 5 senior guys in that have kind of won a couple of flags is kind of be huge for our young guys, because we've been around the mark the last 2 or 3 years, but we've had them kind of fallouts of games where we're not competitive. So I think you'll see a different St Kilda lineup this year. And just the vibe, and if they win a couple early, you never know. It's such a close competition. But even coming into the place the last kind of 3 or 4 weeks, you can just tell everyone, the staff are happy, the players are happy, the physios, everyone's kind of working together on the same page. So the last couple of years have been, kind of not like that. So it's just hopefully we can turn all that onto some wins in the next in the first 3 or 4 games, and then kind of not set your year up, because I think we were 4-2 or 5-2 last year, but just be more competitive in games. And if we get 4 or 5 of them recruits to play well and play their role, and we get Billings and Ross and Robertson and Carlisle that didn't play last year, there's so much upside for the club. And I'm lucky enough to be emceeing a few Halo Legends group this year, 4 or 5 games with Damon Armitage. So really looking forward to that, and just getting a few of the past players back. So it's just a really good vibe and excitement around the place at the moment.
You got a young Milne who's is he a small forward? Is he playing with Sandringham?
Yeah, he's at the Sandringham Zebras, so he's signed under there under Benny McGlenn. He's not a small forward. He's kind of a
6 foot something.
Bit tall, 6'1", but don't know, maybe the mole man. Not sure what happened there.
No, he's blonde.
He's got a half back. He plays.
He's pretty good looking too. So I don't know.
He's kind of half back, so he's going well down at Zebras. So
16, 17, 18.
And just turned 18.
Yep.
End of October. So no, he's going well. He's living the dream at the moment. 18-year-old. Training 3 nights a week in local club Bomb Beach. So just signed at the Sharks down there. So hopefully he can play 6 to 10 games at Zebras with a 19-year-old rule, and who knows.
And what are you doing for a crust?
Cleaning company, so I look after Command 51, we look after restaurants, pubs, cafes, so kind of the cleaners clean at night, just meet the managers during the day and make sure everything's, hunky-dory and everything's good at the moment, so...
And Bake's online wealth creation, tell us about that. What the hell's going on here? I wouldn't have predicted that.
No, I love making money online, love working from home. I've just sort of joined up with my brother the last couple of years in a property business, Baker Land Property, so I like to keep busy, keep the fingers in many pies.
A bit of Bitcoin and sort of
I have had a bit of a dabble in that, but a bit volatile for my life.
Volatile? Listen to this.
Yeah, what about that word? You've been saying surreal all day. I thought I better pull one out.
Oh, we've changed.
Wrap it up.
Thanks for your time.
No, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.